Yeehaw, Dom.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
Hey, man. Um,
Or I
well,
should say, hey, good buddy.
yeah, that's right.
You
That's
got your
right.
ears on?
I got my ears on. I'm 10-10 on the side, and but yeah, this movie here, this was my pick.
Well, keep your rubber side up.
That's right. Yep, keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down. Uh, but no, it's the CB lingo is just it's crazy. So we're doing Smokey and the Bandit, if anyone hasn't guessed already by the backgrounds that we have up here. And Dom, if you want to do the intro on this one, feel free.
Yep, yep. So we'll get more into Coors beer, but the entire plot of this movie centers around Coors beer in the late 70s
Yep.
and its situation. This this rich guy or this rich pair
Yeah,
that
yeah,
live in Atlanta want to get 400 cases of Coors beer to Atlanta, which is normally illegal at this time.
right.
And so they hire Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah,
Actually, they hire a truck driver and a blocker. The
yeah,
truck driver is the Snowman, played by
yeah,
Jerry Reed. The
yeah,
blocker is the Bandit, played by the famous Burt Reynolds.
yeah.
And they have to make it from Texarkana, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia in, I believe it was 28 hours. And
Yeah, yeah,
all the while with police chasing them.
yeah.
So
And
that
you're
that, that in a nutshell is the entire plot.
well, and one of the stars of this show is that Trans Am, that black Trans Am that's behind
Yep,
me
yep.
right there. That's a huge star of the show. That car became quite famous. Um, but yes, absolutely. And it's if you grew up at this time, if you were young at this time and saw the movie, and pretty much everybody did, this movie was everybody everybody knew lines from the movie. They
This
they
was the
knew everything
second
about
highest
this.
grossing movie of 1977,
Yeah,
only being beaten out by Star Wars.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy how popular this was. I mean, it's absolutely crazy.
And
Uh,
no, it's not really crazy. This is the essence of a summer blockbuster. This is a perfect example of what a summer blockbuster should be. It's fast, it's entertaining, it's fun, and ultimately mindless.
Well, it encompassed a lot of the craze that was going on around the time. That there was CB craze. There was, and this, believe me, I owned a CB radio. I was on the CB a lot. A lot of people were. The lingo became, you know, it really it became part of our language, and even just the whole thing with, I think it probably movies like this probably inspired a lot of people to become truck drivers too. It was just there was so much going on, and it's part of it's like the cowboy experience of the open road, the highway. It takes you back to almost like to what this country when we the West and the expansion of the West, the truck driving life is kind of like, well, it's that freedom of being on the open road, or at least it was back then. But yeah, and what a cast. You had Burt Reynolds, Jerry Reed, Jackie
Sally
Gleason,
Field and
yes, and
yeah,
Sally Field. And I mean, Sally Field probably was her career hadn't really totally taken off, but I mean, Sally Field was really well known in because mostly because of her TV Gidget. I mean, I grew up watching that, The Flying Nun. There was, so many different shows. And then, of course, you had Burt Reynolds. He was a TV star, as an action star.
but
Um,
Burt Reynolds was one of the most popular, highest paid male actors of this time.
yeah, and man, everybody just fit so well together. Um, it was this movie, like I said, it's definitely a favorite of mine. I don't watch it like often, but I'd love to revisit the movie, and that's the big reason I suggested it. I probably surprised you by picking this one just because of he was not in the movie. By the way, he was not in the movie. I had to throw up a few Deliverance shots here just because, but no, it's it's Burt Reynolds and Jackie Gleason are two of the and Jerry Reed. But the other thing about this, and this one of the pieces of trivia that I had picked up on in this, but do you know that Jackie Gleason like improvised like 70% of
Mike,
his,
this movie was 75% improvised.
yeah,
So let me tell you a little bit about the
sure.
development of this
Yeah,
movie.
go
This
for it.
movie is all because of this guy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
This guy is Hal Needham,
yeah.
and originally a race car driver and stuntman. And
Burt Reynolds' friend too. Yeah,
Burt Reynolds' friend, which is the only reason this movie got made.
yeah, yeah.
So it was written and directed by Needham, but when he went to market it to the studios, no one would give him the time of day because he's a stuntman.
Right.
And so it wasn't until he showed his script to Burt Reynolds that Burt Reynolds said to him, "This is the worst script I've ever seen, but I'll be in your movie." And when
Yeah.
Reynolds signed on, the studios took interest.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'll tell you what, this movie, I'm so glad it got made because it's so fun and it's so damn funny. I rewatched it. I was laughing my butt off by myself while I was watching this movie. This scene here, this diner scene,
Mhm.
he's Jackie Gleason, that sandwich, the El Diablo, he
Yeah,
made
yep,
that up. He his this entire scene apparently he was he it was all him
yep,
doing and Burt Reynolds just reacting to whatever he was doing, including he was spitting on Burt Reynolds' face. Burt Reynolds is doing the but it's hysterical. He's so good in this. But yeah, um it's I like I said, I'm truly happy that I picked it because it's a lot of fun. And Sally Field was
like
perfect. Yeah,
this is from the 1970s. I wonder, did this age well? And upon rewatch, this movie is timeless.
yeah. If anything, I think it got better.
It may
I
have.
I think it's even funnier. I really do. And yeah, like I said, I everything about this, just the way the characters all come together. I actually don't have any shots of Paul Williams and his daddy, but I don't know if you do. But
It's funny. I had to relook up. Like, I remember the name Paul Williams. I know he was popular at the time, but I couldn't remember why or how.
yeah, oh yeah, there we go. Yeah,
So
Paul Williams was he was a strange little dude, talented songwriter, and actually did
yep.
write a few hits, but just he was
Yeah,
always
he wrote Old Fashioned Love Song.
yeah, yep, which was a hit for a few different people, including the Carpenters, Karen Carpenter. Um, but yeah, he had some hits, but he was like I said, just always he'd appear on talk shows and game shows, like he'd be on Hollywood Squares or something like that. But he was just always just such an oddball, character. But I'll tell you what, this movie though, Jackie Gleason, the whole thing with his son, it was so darn funny because it's over the top, like ridiculous, and you think to yourself, okay, well, there's no way like this isn't gonna, but it worked. It absolutely worked.
Oh, it totally worked.
Well, you know something, if this hadn't been made, if this movie had not been made, then I'll tell you what, you never would have seen this show
Nope.
because this show came a couple of years after, and I swear, um, this show was absolutely conceived because of Smoking the Bandit. there were a lot of elements that were really similar. And again, never would have happened without Smoking the Bandit in
No,
my
very,
book.
very true. In
Yeah.
the cultural mind, Smokey and the Bandit really pushed that craze through. The cars, the running from the law, the car chases, and
Yeah.
um, oh, the CB culture.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, because they use CBs all the time in Dukes of Hazzard, and again, this there's Burt Reynolds on a CB there, and the whole movie it was all about them communicating back and forth, him and Jerry Reed, and him running block for which worked back then. I don't think it would work nowadays.
There's no
Or
way it would work nowadays.
the car chases are not the same nowadays as they. It's a lot harder to run from from cops nowadays.
Well, I mean, there aren't nearly as many because you've got electronic sensors,
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
got license plate cameras.
Yes. Yeah. So there's so many things, but back and everybody's got a cell phone too, so they can say, "Hey, I just saw the car over here," or whatever, and people will report in. But and they're all taking video too.
Well,
But and
also
there's
I've heard plans to put like continuous drones over certain areas.
yeah, it
So
wouldn't
you've
surprise me.
got 24/7 monitoring.
Yeah, I mean, which I guess you could call it good, but
It's
it's also
frightening.
we are sadly losing freedom so fast. But but yeah, like oh, and that you can't forget the dog that
Nope.
that hound dog. He was a star of this movie too. But
I can't remember what his name was.
Cletus, Cletus,
Cletus, thank you.
yes,
I'm
yeah,
like, I know he had a name that was referred to.
yeah. Which ironically in the Dukes of Hazzard, um, there's a Sheriff Cletus, right? It's there's so it's been a while since I've seen the Dukes of Hazzard, uh, but that's good fun too. So, but again, what a cast! I mean, and there's Big Enos there, Pat McCormick. He was a character actor in a lot of movies. So him and Little Enos
Paul
was
Williams.
Paul Williams. But yeah, like I said, great, terrific cast, and the chemistry. I mean, hey, they were actually in real life. They actually were in a relationship, but yeah, Sally Field and Burt Reynolds had chemistry together, and that made a big part of this movie. So I don't know. Like I said, there was just so many elements that worked together,
Oh man,
and
I
some.
don't have a photo of that guy right there, Junior Justice.
Oh yes,
That's Mike Henry,
right.
probably more famous as a linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, you know something, and I actually didn't even realize that. And you bringing it up actually it brings it to mind. But I actually, yeah, and if you look at, I mean, Jackie Gleason wasn't a little man,
Nope.
and look at the size difference. He is
He
towering over Jackie
That guy
Gleason.
was in the longest yard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. That's right. That's right. He was. I forgot about that. But and that's another good movie. I don't want to do the remake of the or not the remake, but the well, it was a remake, but it was um I mean the one with Adam Sandler. Um Nowhere
Um,
near. Yes, Adam Sandler
oh,
remade,
that yeah, they did do a remake. I
yeah,
forgot.
The Longest Yard, and which I think Burt Reynolds did a cameo in. There were a number of but I don't know. Like I said, the original Longest Yard was both funny, strange, and well done. I thought I
It's
highly
funny you
enjoyed
should
it.
mention that because there are plans in place for remaking Smokey and the Bandit.
Wow, really,
And
really.
before you judge, let me tell you some of the people that are involved.
Okay,
David Gordon Green, who I
okay,
believe was the director for Pineapple Express
yep. Which I like that movie.
and Eastbound and Down,
Wow. Okay, okay.
and other people that are tapped for this movie is Danny McBride
Oh my
of
God,
Eastbound and
yes.
Down.
Yeah, I love Danny McBride. I love Danny McBride. Um,
And Seth MacFarlane.
huh. Okay, I like Seth MacFarlane. That's that's actually okay.
It has potential.
It has potential. It's hard to imagine another Smoking the Bandit, but if you get the right people, it's possible you could, because it's a comedy and it's a crazy comedy, and I
It's
think
comedy and it's action. I mean, like the writer director was a stunt car driver. 50% of the movie are car chases and stunts.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you one of my biggest criticisms about um, what modern Hollywood is doing with car chases is they're not doing real stunts. They're doing a lot of CGI bullshit. And and this movie actually had, I mean, Burt Reynolds didn't do the most dangerous stunts, but he actually drove the car
Actually,
for
he didn't. Oh,
uh,
he didn't for all of it. Do you
yeah,
remember?
he did a little.
He did
I
a
mean, he
little.
didn't do the dangerous stuff,
The
but
writer director did a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, Hal Needham.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did a lot of the dangerous
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, it's crazy because different movies. I always find it fun when an actor actually participates, or the fact that a director would do it. That's, I mean, Dirty Mary Crazy Larry, which is definitely one I want to do. That's definitely a movie that I want to have us talk about one time. Um, Dirty Mary Crazy. Peter Fonda did a lot of the driving in that Charger. He did tons of the driving, but the the lines in this movie really make it. So they're gonna have to, if they do a remake, they're gonna have to, some of the lines on this, and I just have to repeat a few of these lines. There's that line where they come up on the roadblock that Burt Reynolds is just like ripped right through. And there's a cop standing there and he goes, "Did you see, Sheriff? He went right through our roadblock." And and Jackie Gleason comes out with, "You son of a bitch couldn't even close an umbrella." And there's, I
What
can
we
keep
have
going
here is
because
a total disrespect for the law.
yeah, oh my God, his the way he would talk about like the way he would talk about them disrespecting the law was and of course he's doing everything he can to 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 be crooked. He's a crooked cop down in where is he in, was he in
Well, they
Tex,
start in Texas,
Te Te Texas and Texarcana. So yeah, I wasn't sure which one he was from,
but
but
but they didn't start with him on their tail, so they must have picked him up en route.
yeah,
So
yeah.
somewhere between Texarkana and Atlanta.
Yeah, it's when what started the whole thing was Sally Fields what got him into trouble with Jackie Gleason because he picked her up he picked her up as a runaway bride. She was escaping after she realized that she was getting corralled into a marriage she didn't want to participate in. But and after that, because he's the groom, look what the son's wearing. There's so many lines in this though. The line about when I get home, I'm gonna punch your mama in the mouth because there's no way you could have come for my
But,
lawns.
but the lines are good, but they're only good because of Gleason's delivery. I
Yes.
mean, he's a
Yeah.
master.
Oh my God. Yeah. His delivery on that. And Jackie Gleason was from uh he was from New York. He was a New York, definitely a New
Yeah,
York guy. And he played Southern so well, or at least the stereotypical Southern so well in this movie. It's he sold it. He sold the role. He sold, he sold his part. They all did. My God, it's like this movie just for me. This movie was so fun, absolutely
it is.
fun.
It's,
It
it's
was
complete fun. It was fun enough that they made, I think they made six more.
yeah, yeah,
There's
something like
Smokey
that.
and the Bandit 2, Smokey and the Bandit 3, and then I think there are three more straight to video.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was wrong. I said to you last week that Sally Field wasn't in part two. She was. She was, in fact, in part two. And I had forgotten that. Part three is the one that It was only they got Jerry Reed. And by the way, this is a little bit of trivia. Smoking the Bandit 3, there's a rumor, whether or not this is true, but there is a rumor that there is a cut of that movie where Jackie Gleason is actually playing the bandit and yeah, and driving the Trans Am. Whether or not that's true, and apparently like audiences didn't buy it, so they decided to have Jerry Reed be the bandit. But so yeah, it's pretty. That's a crazy version if that's true. I'd love to see the working cut on that one because it's supposedly hidden in a warehouse somewhere. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
we got to get back to that Trans Am.
yes,
They started this movie with four identical Trans Ams given to them
yeah,
by who makes it? Pontiac?
Pontiac, yep,
Yeah,
and they wrecked him too.
they wrecked them all.
Yeah, and that
This jump across the river made by Needham
yeah,
had a rocket in it, just like
yeah,
Evil
yeah,
Knievel used.
yeah. Well, see, that's the other thing. Like people watch movies where because like the Dukes of Hazzard used to jump Chargers all the time. Every time they jumped a Charger, they wrecked it.
Mhm.
You destroy, which was one of the sad. I love Dodge Chargers, and those early Dodge Chargers, that is, and they were wrecking so many Dodge Chargers and the Dukes that they were driving around Los Angeles buying kids cars. Yeah, they were like they'd offer them money, and even if the car was like a Bondo special that was all patched together, they'd take it back to the lot. They'd spray paint it because they only needed it, and
Just gonna look good for one scene.
yeah, and then they destroy the car. So there were like tons of wrecked Dodge Chargers on the studio lot because they wrecked so many. But yeah, with when you jump a car like that scene that's behind you,
Mhm.
when that car comes down, in the best possible case, you buckle the frame. It's that car ain't coming back.
I believe I heard that after this jump, that car was only used to scavenge parts from.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds that's that definitely sounds about right. But my God, that car was such a cool car. I actually, where I work, I actually knew a driver that he drove for a fuel company, and the driver actually had it wasn't those cars that they used for this movie were specialty Trans Ams that they put together for the movie, and they were a lot more powerful than what the best one you could drive out of the factory. They gave the movie company special chargers for that.
And I'm sure it went under even more modification than that, because again, not only did Needham do stunts and race, he owned a NASCAR team
Yeah.
and he owned the Budweiser rocket car that set land
Oh,
speed records.
oh wow, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
So I'm willing to bet that they tricked those things out.
Oh, yeah, that I'm sure. Well, if you looked at that car, that was one of the sad things that happened was because I grew up during the muscle car era. I mean, I was a
Mhm.
kid for most of it, but when I started getting into my teens, when I started getting around driving age, and all of a sudden the whole thing happened with OPEC and gas shortages. They changed the speed limit to it was suddenly the speed limit was 55, and that's the other thing. The reason why the CB craze happened was because truck drivers couldn't make a living. They couldn't drive 55 and make a living, and which is why eventually they put enough pressure on to raise the speed limit. For well, now everyone's driving 80, 80, 90, but which is really crazy. But yeah, like I said, it started the whole thing with CBs, so you could talk to truckers could talk to each other and look out for if there was a radar trap or whatever. they would warn each other. And then of course there was the whole thing with convoys, which we'll have to get into those movies later too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like CB, CB radio was used by truckers a lot, yes. But wow, did it slide into the popular culture? We're
Yes.
talking hit songs, we're
Oh
talking
yeah.
movies. I had completely forgotten about it, but when I saw this movie, it all came flooding back. That was everywhere for a while.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. It really was. And think about how many movies there was Convoy with Chris Christopherson.
There was
Yeah,
Breaker Breaker,
oh my God, yeah, there were so many of those movies that were
Gator.
yes. Oh my God, it was crazy how much it inundated popular culture. But yeah, everybody had like that was of course there was the van craze too, and everybody Chevy van.
No, van
But
life is still a thing.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. But everybody had you had your CB radio if you were in a van. So again, and a lot of cars had them. I mean, I when I
You
was
had them, right?
what's that?
You had one.
I absolutely did. I had one that I installed in my bedroom, and I used to talk on it all the time. Um, and then I convinced before I even got my first car because I was borrowing my dad's car all the time, and I actually absolutely convinced him to let me put one in his car. And I was trying to sell him on the idea, oh, it's good if something happens, the car breaks down, you can call somebody and get it. And I convinced him that like you need a CB in the car, and he was like, okay, whatever. So he let me install it, and I loved it. I would drive it down the highway and talk on the CB. So yeah, they were absolutely everywhere, and pretty much everybody I knew had a CB radio. So uh, but but definitely a movie that I think it epitomized the time, the
It-
era, the social
that
mores,
movie is
everything.
both timeless and a time capsule.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it had Sally Field, and she was cute. So so
She was
so
cute, but she was never quite a sex symbol. She was an interesting choice.
she was and wasn't. She always had like she was kind of like your Marianne of Gilligan's Island.
Yeah,
She was the girl next door. It was that kind of sex appeal. It was not. You're
I
absolutely
mean, she's
right.
not a Farrah, she's not a
No,
Bo Derek, she's not a Lonnie
no,
Anderson.
no, or Bridget Bardot or any whatever. But she was your girl next door.
Mm,
But which had a certain appeal to it because just like when people always talk about like who is the one you like, Ginger or Marianne on Gilligan's Island, everybody that was my pick. I always say I want Marianne. I don't want Ginger. I want Marianne. She was the cute girl next door. But again, you're absolutely right. She wasn't. She was cute, but she wasn't the glamorous.
yeah, I wonder if that was a conscious choice because, once I watched it, this is an incredibly wholesome movie. You can show this
Yeah.
to anyone.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're really even to tell you the truth, because even the whole thing where they're flaunting the law and stuff like that, they actually keep a pretty cordial really there's a mutual respect between the sheriff and the bandit.
Yep.
This scene at the very end of the movie when he's he's messing with him and he says, where are you, like like, you son of a bitch, where are you? And he says, I'm down at the bottom of the hill, I'm standing next to a midget. And he's talking about Paul Williams and Big Enos, and then of course they're all laughing, and they're in the car that is behind me, and he goes, no, I can't do this to you, Sheriff. You've been too good of an adversary. I got to tell you, I'm look over your shoulder, and he looks over his shoulder and he's like, I'm right here. And of course, they go right into a whole thing, and that's what was the start. They go because they're going after clam chowder in Boston, and and then it goes right into the whole plot of how they ended up making Smoking the Bandit Part Two. It just it's a fun movie. It lent itself to, again, there's no real meanness in this movie. It's all just fun. Everything that happens in this, all the interactions between whether it's the cops and the truck drivers or whatever, but it's all fun. It's nothing too mean.
So, so I mentioned it at the start of our video, but I think it's time we need to talk about Coors beer
Yes. Yep.
in the 70s. So the whole reason that this movie happened, the reason why the law was chasing them, why these guys were going so fast, is because in 1977, when this movie came out, it was illegal to sell Coors beer east of the Mississippi.
Yep. Well, and there were a couple of reasons for that. One, there was um, there was a whole thing with which companies kind of had the block on the East Coast and on the
You
West
see,
Coast.
I thought it was a territorial skirmish. I thought
Yeah,
it was like a legal deal made by companies.
yeah. Well, the other part, and this was something that I did a little looking into it, and one of the things that I found was that Coors had non-pasteurized beer,
Mhm.
and the beer had to be refrigerated, and it had a freshness date on it, and plus it was brewed from Rocky Mountain Rocky Mountain
Pure
stream.
Rocky Mountain
So
water.
yeah, supposedly. But so that those were some of the reasons that I had heard that it was not available. And it's crazy because people nowadays, I love Coors Light. That's my beer, and so like it's my one of my beers anyway. But yeah, like I said, uh, it you couldn't get a Coors. I remember the first time I had a Coors on the East Coast, I was like, wow, I got drinking a Coors. It was a special thing. Um,
Who else loved Coors?
who's that?
Dwight D. Eisenhower would have Coors airlifted to the White House.
Wow, wow, really? Wow, that's
Gerald
crazy.
Ford would smuggle it in his luggage.
Wow, that's crazy. That so that's how bizarre. Again, we have so many things that nowadays the way shipping is and the way goods are transported, people I don't think from newer generations, they don't get what you had to go through sometimes
Yeah.
with
And what was outright impossible
yeah,
other times.
yeah. Well, I remember a lot of different fruits that you could not get during certain times of the year.
Hmm.
And nowadays it's there were certain fruits that were like really, it was really rare to see them in. There's a line in, totally off but there's a line in the original, the Homecoming, the Walton's Homecoming, where the when the father comes home, he brings roses for his wife, and she's holding the roses. She goes, roses in winter, and she goes, my God, like, because he managed to get her some roses.
Hmm.
So things like that, like I said, people don't realize that you didn't have access to certain things, and you didn't
Yeah.
have access to Coors if you were on the East Coast. So, but yeah, again, like I said, man, this movie just so much fun. Jackie Gleason again. I can't say enough about what we have here is a total lack of respect for the law. But
Also, you gotta talk to Jerry Reed mainly because of his music.
yeah,
That
yeah,
song Eastbound and Down, I mean, I can't remember what that reached on the charts, but it was top 10, if
yeah, yeah.
I'm remembering
Well,
correctly.
and that's another thing too. I will definitely say this for Burt Reynolds too. he was very, very loyal to his friends. Jerry Reed was a friend of his. He put Jerry Reed in a lot of his movies.
Mhm.
Al Needham again was somebody that he considered a friend, and they worked with each other, and there were a number of different actors that even people like Dom DeLuise, him and Dom DeLuise were buddies. Those people would pop up in his movies because they were his friends, and so you have to say he
Yep.
definitely he was
Part of the
loyal.
reason the movie works is you can tell they were all having fun. They were just a bunch of buddies putting this
Yeah,
thing together.
yeah. Well, and again, I mean, yeah, you definitely you see it. That you see it with the interaction. There's real chemistry with how they relate to each other. They are definitely buddies. Just like hey, Burt Reynolds and Sally Field were boyfriend girlfriend at the time. It didn't last real long. I don't. I think by the time Smoking the Bandit 2 was over, their relationship was probably pretty much over. So, but yeah, I think they were having a lot of fun at the time. At the time, but I don't know how friendly uh, the son was with with Jackie Gleason or anything. But hey, it was again um, this movie. This movie just it was. I've seen this movie so many times, and it had been a number of years since I got back to it again for this viewing. But my God, over the years, I've probably seen this movie 10 times. Um, I don't know how many times you saw
I,
it, but
I, I
it's
don't know how many times I had seen it. It had easily been 15, 20 years since I saw it last.
yeah, it would come on TV or cable or whatever, and immediately, it's like, oh, Smokey the Bandit. You wanted to tune in, but
Now, did you ever see the TV show?
I think I probably caught an episode or two, and I think I remember it being horrible, and I don't even remember who was in it now. Because do
Oh,
you know? Because I
I did. They weren't that small. They've been in a few things.
yeah,
Let me see if I can get it. But yeah, I heard it was horrible. And
it
I
was
heard
it was pretty bad, Dom. It
they
was
made
pretty
some
bad.
very unfortunate changes. Do you remember what the car was?
No, no,
The car was a Dodge Viper.
really, really. Wow, I don't see. I didn't even remember that. But yeah, and again, that I don't know if that was done because of probably because of a whatever the channel was at the time. They probably had some kind of a contract with Dodge, so they had to use a Dodge rather than a Pontiac, which is
Huh,
GMC. Uh, but that's crazy because Smoking the Bandit is all about the Trans Am, and if you're not going to include a
right.
Trans Am, don't do
I
it.
mean, what a poor choice. If you don't have that, it's like doing the Dukes of Hazzard without the General Lee.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you don't have the General Lee, there's no Dukes of Hazzard. It's that car was, that and I think Catherine Bach, because you needed Catherine Bach too. But
So this guy is Brian Bloom.
okay. Um is that the
He's
it,
been in. He was in the A Team, the movie, the A Team.
okay. Yep. Yep, but not super super familiar with him. I mean, I know the name, but I'm not super familiar with him. So that he was the star of Smoking the Bandit on
Yeah,
TV.
and so they wanted to make it into a TV show, but no one really liked the pilot, and so
Yeah.
they made it into a series of again straight to video films. This is from Bandit Goes Country.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, bad idea. Bad idea all around. It would sort of be like if you were going to try to make Deliverance into a TV series and maybe have it be a comedy. I think it would be along the same lines. So no, don't make Smoking the Bandit into a but again, you brought up the whole idea of doing a remake. I would definitely be because of the cast and the director that you told me about, I would be willing to give it a shot, give it a try. Um, I look at this movie, and when I see Gleason, Burt Reynolds, and Jerry Reed, that's
It's a
who I
classic that is so entrenched into popular culture that, man, if you're going to do a remake, you better
do it
make it
right.
count.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of consider that about any movie that has set itself in the public's mind to the degree Smoking the Bandit or whatever, whether it's a a comedy or whether it's a classic movie, don't do it unless you can do it right. So hey, I'll give that one the remake a shot if it's got that cast, because that's quite a cast. And there again, there's Big Enos there over your shoulder,
But
but
yeah, I gotta say,
and Little Enos.
the involvement of Danny McBride, I love Danny McBride,
Yes, yeah,
and he's so funny and he's so good.
yeah,
I would give the remake a chance just because of him alone.
absolutely. To tell you the truth, your cousin Alicia and I were just talking about the Righteous Gemstones,
Hmm.
and I saw like the first season or two, and she was talking about some because she's been really watching it, and I've seen Vice Principals, I've seen Eastbound and Down. Uh, the man is talented. He's very funny, and uh, and there's a
Heck,
great
he flew a
supporting cast
spaceship
around.
in Prometheus.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'll tell you what. Um, I would give him. He's probably one of the few people I would really give a shot with something like a remake of. So yeah, now that you've mentioned who's in it, I think to myself, yep, I'll give it a shot. It's going to be hard to beat that original cast, but that sounds like it could be a promising one. So
Yep,
hopefully,
yep.
but
Do a few updates. Have the cars all be electric.
oh my God.
I don't know what they would be driving across in this day and age, but
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the one thing I will say that I, to me, you need a fuel powered car, but for a movie like this, but at the same time, I'll tell you what, some of those electric cars, the acceleration on those things,
it's unbelievable.
it's unbelievable. They're outdoing some of the most powerful muscle cars that were ever built. So it's absolutely crazy,
But
but
again, it doesn't matter what the energy source is. I get the love of gas-powered cars, but it's the engine mechanics. And as long as you've got energy,
yeah.
it doesn't really matter. What matters is how the mechanics fit together.
What's funny is some of the electric cars that are coming out that are coming out to be kind of like muscle cars. They are actually putting the sound of a gas engine. So when the car accelerates, you hear the rum rum.
They have to. Those things are so silent, they're dangerous.
Yeah, they kind of are. They they kind yeah. I mean, there's no believe me. It's absolutely if you've driven one. I mean, I've driven Priuses, but they I have to say the Prius actually I was really knocking the Prius, and I got a chance to drive one. A friend of mine let me borrow one, and I was actually amazed at how well the car performed. So like I
And
said,
now that we find ourselves talking about electric vehicles,
yeah,
I'm just going to shift it back to the movie and say, no doubt, two thumbs up.
yeah. Like I said, I recommended this, so you knew I was going to give it that.
Yep.
But absolutely,
Good,
um,
great recommendation, Mike. I had so much fun watching this again.
yeah. Well, I'm glad. I'm really glad. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope that everybody out there, we didn't really get into it with talking to our audience, but if you haven't seen this movie, and my God, I don't know who hasn't seen this movie, but if you haven't, this is a terrific comedy. It's funny. It's silly.
It's
It's over
fast
the
paced.
top. What's that?
It's fast paced. It gets right
Yes.
into it.
Yeah, absolutely. It flows along, and it doesn't even feel like when this movie ended after watching it this last time, I was like, wow, it's over already. It was
Yeah,
that.
that felt like that's was like a television episode.
Yeah, yeah. It just really goes by quick. And again, um, the even just the chemistry between Gleason and Burt Reynolds, hysterical, really funny stuff. He's so over the top. The the I love one of the scenes that made me laugh out loud was when he's standing by the side of the road and that truck driver comes by and rips his door off and he's yelling, "You did that on purpose." uh, but yeah, so
Oh my
yeah,
God. Like, so many things make this movie, and Gleason is one of them.
yes, yeah, absolutely. I like I said, I can't say enough about the comedy in this. It's silly. If you don't expect highbrow comedy, it's not that. You're not going to get that. But what you're going to get is a lot of fun. And so yeah, I think we've pretty much said it all. Um, Please, if you haven't seen the movie, watch it. And hopefully we haven't spoiled it for you if you've never seen it, but I hope you
There's nothing to
enjoyed.
spoil. It's just a fun ride. Like
Yeah,
again,
you
I
can't
say it
spoil
about
this.
a lot of movies. The plot is peripheral to the movie
Yes. Yeah, yeah. It's all about funny lines, comedy, chemistry. It's the
and car
cars.
chases.
Yes, the car chases, real car chases. Uh, just just a lot of craziness. Um, Please, if you would leave a like, subscribe, check out our other videos. We've done a ton of different movies. We're still a pretty young channel, still trying to grow. So please, the likes, the subscribe, the comments, suggest
Yeah, I'm
movies.
more interested in comments. Drop us a line.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if you would, we definitely appreciate the comments and hopefully they're kind, but hey, we will take them all. So Dom, having said all of that, I think we probably can wrap this one up. Uh,
Yep, I think so
lot,
too.
it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you enjoyed it too. Because when I threw it out there, I was I wasn't sure whether it would be one you'd be like real enthusiastic about, but I'm glad you did like it. And so, having said all that, do you have your pick for next week?
I do not yet.
Okay,
I am I've got million movies going around my head and I just don't know what the right one is.
okay. Well, that's fine. You're going to leave us in suspense, and that's fun too.
Yeah,
So
wait out for my short because I'll announce it then.
Yeah, yep. And Dom makes some really check out Dom's shorts because they,
Check out
um,
my shorts.
yeah, his shorts. No, now I'm not going to be able to get through this, but yeah, Dom does terrific. Dom does terrific previews for our movies. So he's my trailer guy that puts one out so that we I would
Yeah, I
say
try and make them fun.
you always do, and believe me, I enjoy them myself. I always look forward to what's Dom going to do this week. So, um, but yeah, check those out because he's done a lot of them over the channel's history, and he's made some real fun ones. They're always a little different, and they're always a little offbeat and hilarious. So, well, not always hilarious. Sometimes they're scary. but but Dom, it was a pleasure. I really enjoyed talking this one with you, and
Always great, always fun.
yeah, I will see you again next week, and we will. Dom's going to surprise us.
I
So,
will.
all right, take care, everyone. See you guys next week.
Next week.
Bye.